Hello and welcome to another episode of Her Helping Habit on Air. We are a Canadian fertility agency specializing in known egg donation, embryo donation, and surrogacy, helping intended parents, surrogates, and donors navigate their journeys through education, support, and advocacy. Through open conversations and shared experiences, we aim to empower everyone involved in the family building process. Her Helping Habit on Air does not provide medical advice. These are simply lived experiences shared to help make the often uncharted world of infertility feel a little less scary.
I'm Katie, Her Helping Habits founder.
And I'm Sarah, I'm the Donor Program Manager.
We've decided to create this little video for you today to share everything that we know on our egg donation in Mexico program.
Hopefully this video will be able to give you a little bit more information about our program and answer some questions you might have about cycling a donor in Mexico.
I've written down our top questions that people have asked us during consults to share with you, and let's get started. So for our first question, I want to know, why Mexico?
Well, why Mexico? There's a few different reasons. Primarily, if people need a surrogate, it's going to be a lot easier of a process to match in Mexico. So in Canada, it could take 6 months, it could take 2 years, it could take 5 years. You might never get chosen by a surrogate in Canada, but in Mexico, you are guaranteed to match within a few months. And it doesn't mean that you can't have a good relationship with your surrogate in Mexico. Lots of people do go on to develop that, but there are a lot more women that are willing to do it because it is a bit of a commercial process. So they're receiving some money to help their family.
Okay. Can you share a little bit of the history of HHH and the Mexico program?
Yeah, so we started doing research, a lot of research, before we settled on a clinic. We interviewed quite a few before we decided to go with the one that we currently partnered with. And that's just because we feel like their standard of care is really high, they treat our donors really well, and they practice good ethical medicine. And so that was really important to us to work with a clinic that we felt treated our donors and our IPs very well. Katie and I both went down to Mexico City in 2022 to meet the staff at the clinic, meet the doctors, make sure that we felt like we were fully vetting this place. And we were really happy with everything that we found out there.
Absolutely loved the clinic. Like Sarah said, we went through a few, but this one that we settled on, I would absolutely have loved to donate at. Personally, when I was going through the process as an egg donor, I've only ever donated in Canada, but after seeing this clinic, it's far bougier than any of the clinics I've ever seen.
It's really nice. You walk in, they make you a latte. Yeah, it's better than most of the clinics in Canada that I've been to, and definitely comparable. I don't think that you're sacrificing any quality in terms of the medical side either, choosing a clinic in Mexico City.
Yeah, actually, that's perfect. That brings me to my next question is, what did you think of the medical process at the clinic? I know when I first thought about egg donation in Mexico, I was thinking of like kind of a sketchy backyard type doctor.
Yeah, a little clandestine, but no, not at all. It couldn't be further from that. I'm really confident that our donors are being treated well there and that their medical protocols are being managed in an ethical way. They're being treated well. There's plenty of English spoken, so, it's easy to communicate with the doctors and with the staff there.
So I guess then, how does that compare to Canada in terms of screening process for egg donors?
The screening process is more or less the same, and HHH will have our own screening process that we need to follow as well to make sure that things are done in the proper way.
What about for the intended parents? Would their screening look any different?
No, their screening is pretty much the same as well. We're going to go through all the check boxes, having everyone talk to a counselor, having genetics done, having appropriate medical testing done.
How quick would you say that the turnaround time is for somebody using an egg donor in Mexico from match to retrieval? And how long would it take to find an egg donor?
Finding an egg donor can happen as soon as you're ready to find an egg donor. So that really depends on which criteria you're looking at for a specific donor and if it's flexible with her timeline. Okay. So that can happen very, very quickly, just depending on your criteria. And then in terms of getting someone to cycle for you, that can happen fairly quickly. Usually it's going to take about 2 months to organize everything at a minimum.
Oh, wow. That's quick compared to Canada.
I'm going to say 2 to 3 months is sort of our average, but we can make things move faster in Mexico when needed.
Okay. What does the egg donor selection pool look like in Mexico versus Canada?
When you're cycling with a donor in Mexico, you're going to have a few more options because we have a different tier of donor for women that are only willing to cycle in Mexico or only able to travel to Mexico and not to Canada. So you're opening up some more options for you donor-wise.
I know with the Mexico program, we were able to structure a premium donor pool. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
So you're really opening up a lot more options for donors to cycle with you. So there may be donors that aren't drawn to Canada's system of altruistic donation, and this gives us the chance to work with those donors as well, where they can be legally compensated in Mexico.
Yeah, that makes sense. Not that every egg donor does, but we do, like Sarah said, have egg donors who wouldn't probably donate unless they were compensated. So if I was to use a premium donor, can I opt for one if I'm already signed up with the Canadian clinic?
So you would have to cycle your donor in Mexico, in which there's a couple options to have the eggs or embryos transported back to your Canadian clinic. So you can still work with a Canadian clinic for your surrogacy process if that's what you want, or even to create embryos. So what would happen is we cycle your egg donor in Mexico, we retrieve all the eggs, freeze them, or fertilize them and make embryos, and then arrange for those to be shipped back to Canada. It is easier to ship embryos than eggs, but all things are possible depending on, each logistical.
Right. That was going to be my next question is if one was easier than the other.
Yeah, definitely I would recommend making embryos because Health Canada does view them differently as eggs. So it's not impossible to get the eggs across the border, but it is more challenging.
Also, I believe that it is always better to fertilize eggs fresh immediately instead of thawing and then fertilizing.
That's what I've been told. Embryos freeze better, and so they can be stored indefinitely.
Okay. What kind of supports does HHH offer in their Mexico program?
So I know it can feel daunting for a lot of donors to go down to a different country. Maybe they don't speak Spanish. So what we offer is we attempt to get a group donation, so several donors at once, and then there'll be a hands-on HHH coordinator. So someone that's there for built-in support, there to do injections if someone needs, go to appointments with them and navigate the city.
What if I want to do a retrieval at a month that you're not going down with a group?
Each case is uniquely structured, and we can absolutely make that happen.
So would my donor still have an HHH support worker though?
Yep, absolutely. And I will go down myself. Katie has been down as well, and we have other support workers that are willing to travel with the donors to make sure they have that built-in support.
Okay, so I know that you've been to Mexico a couple times before going to vet this clinic. So this clinic is located in Mexico City that we've decided to partner with. Can you talk about your experience in Mexico City versus other areas of Mexico?
So I've traveled around the different parts of Mexico pretty extensively, and I was expecting it to be a large city feel, like any really major city in Palenque. However, I was really surprised how safe it felt. There is literally an armed guard on every corner, which seems intimidating at first, but there was no panhandling. I felt totally comfortable walking by myself at night in the area. There's a Ferrari dealership around the corner. It's pretty high-end neighborhood.
Okay. How does accommodation and food work for the donors when they travel with you guys?
We get a flat rate per diem for the donors, so it can be difficult to get receipts for all of your food purchases. So we just went with a flat rate, $75 a day.
Sorry, can you explain what you mean? Why is it hard to get receipts?
Just if you're buying street food, which is delicious and everyone should absolutely partake in.
Okay.
It can be difficult to communicate just what you're ordering, never mind getting a receipt for that. And lots of them aren't going to have receipts. So it's just not realistic to get a receipt.
Okay. And that is something that we do encourage with our Mexico program is if Sarah's there or myself or another coordinator, we do try to still give the donors like a cultural experience and do tourist type things. So that can be going out for different meals, trying street food, but also tours. We went with
Teotihuacan, the pyramid.
I was like, I don't remember the name.
Really cool experience. There's a lot that you can do. I did a hiking tour last time I was there in the mountains, which was so spectacular.
So it depends on the donors that we're going down with at that time, but we'll definitely make it a trip that is memorable and worthwhile for them. And for some donors, especially those who are located in Canada, this is a huge incentive for them to sign up with our Mexico program because they're not being paid in Canada. They get to go down to Mexico and have a whole different travel experience.
Yeah, I try to make it a really fun trip. I think it can be a really good time for everyone, and especially if you like Mexican food, it is fantastic there. Like really good food.
Don't try the sushi though. We did not have a good sushi experience.
I feel like I'm going to try it one more time.
Sarah is determined every single time she goes. She's like, sushi.
It
every
wasn't to
time.
my palate.
She regrets it. But let me know if you find a good sushi place. But yeah, I guess so. If I was an intended parent going to Mexico, how would it work for fertilization? If I didn't want to ship the eggs back to my clinic, I wanted to fertilize them there. Do I have to travel to Mexico too?
Well, you can have sperm shipped down to your clinic. It probably is easier and cheaper for you to take a personal visit to Mexico City and just leave your sperm there.
And then how many days would I need to be away? What would that trip time-wise look like?
You could do it over the weekend, but you're already there. So enjoy some food while you're there. Potentially meet your donor in person with me as well, or with a companion.
Ooh, that's an option. I can meet my donor in person.
Absolutely, with the HHH chaperone.
Do I have to have a chaperone? How does that work? Explain the known aspect of egg donation in Mexico.
Well, that can really, it's known as a spectrum, right? So that can look a lot of different ways. And it's really up to you and your donor how that looks. So absolutely, there would be the chance under the right circumstances to meet your donor one-on-one.
Okay. And so do you guys facilitate all communication, or would I have the opportunity to talk one-on-one with my donor? Also long-term, if there's health changes, could she communicate those to me directly, or do I need to communicate any health changes to you if there's something that comes up with my child?
Yeah. So actually, we're a bit different in other agencies in that regard. So we do put the onus on the donor and the recipients to communicate future health information. I don't know where we'll be in 20 years. Hopefully I'll be retired and with my chickens. I don't know where HHH is going to be in 20 years. So it's the more ethical decision to have the donor and recipient communicate that directly to each other. Whatever ongoing contact or ongoing relationship or friendship you guys develop is up to you. And I say, let that develop organically. See what feels right. Sometimes it's going to be a really good click and sometimes it's not. But it's more about leaving that door open for your kids if and when they want to reach out to their donor.
That is something that we founded Her Helping Habit. Known egg donation is one of our core principles and values, but that is rooted in research and that it's best practice for donor conceived children. So like you said, how that looks is very independent and up to you, but there's no secrets and you're not playing investigator or detective down the line if something changes and you decide you do want that information.
This is also a unique opportunity to have a known donor in Mexico, which is actually really rare. The vast majority of cycles are still very much anonymous there. You might not even get a picture of your donor doing IVF in Mexico.
That's true. And many countries in the world.
Yeah.
So if you're somebody who has to travel for egg donation already and you want a known donor, then Mexico could be a great option to add to your list of countries to consider.
I'm looking forward to going back.
Me too. One of my final questions is this process more expensive in Mexico than Canada?
I find the costs are pretty comparable. So it might be slightly cheaper in Mexico, but primarily you won't be doing it for the cost savings.
Cost aside, why might I consider Mexico then?
Primarily for the surrogacy aspect and the quality of care and the expanded donor options you're going to have. Quicker to match with a surrogate, more donor options, see a new place in the world.
Well, thank you, Sarah, for answering all my questions.
My pleasure. If anyone wants to book a follow-up consult, we can talk more about it and answer specific questions.
If you'd like to connect with us or have questions about known egg donation, embryo donation, surrogacy, becoming a parent, or exploring whether becoming a surrogate or donor is right for you, you can find us online at Her Helping Habit or email us at info@herhelpinghabit.com. We're passionate about educating and supporting all parties throughout the journey, and you can also book a free consultation with one of our coordinators directly through our website. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you again soon on the next episode of Her Helping Habit on Air. Thank you.